The IMF is the Integrated Modelling Framework, and we could think of this as the analytical engine room of the DARE hub. It's where we analyse the R in DARE, resilience. So what the IMF allows us to do is, as the name suggests, integrate together different models, from climate models and socioeconomic and transport models, to allow us to look at visions of the future transport system, where we have adopted various policies to decarbonise the system, and then test the resilience of those against future climate hazards. So it allows us to simulate floods impacting the transport network, and then measure the impact of those floods, and crucially then test out potential adaptation options that we could put in place to make the whole transport system more resilient to future climate. The first 2 years of DARE have been spent understanding the intricacies of the models we have in our armoury, and really working towards the integrated part of the IMF, bringing those models together, coupling them up, and understanding how we go through the process from climate scenario, socioeconomic scenario, through the transport system to measuring impact. So we've been working on developing an understanding of what the thresholds are in the climate system that will cause impacts to the transport networks, the infrastructure and the users of that system. We've been thinking about national scenarios of land use, of population, and of transport that will give us those future decarbonised visions that we can test the resilience of. And we've been thinking about how we quantify the impacts of disruptions caused by climate change on the transport network, and trying to sew all of those pieces together. One of the key components of the IMF is the use of agent-based modelling. This gives us an understanding of how individuals might respond to disruptions to the transport system or changes to the climate in the future, and allows us this real granularity of quantifying not just overall impacts, but impacts to certain social groups or certain geographical areas within our modelled case studies. So what we're going to be doing in the coming months and years is trying to simulate impacts of things like extreme temperature events through our IMF, alongside extreme rainfall and other climate hazards, and try and quantify how those ripple through the transport system in a combination of disruption to infrastructure, but also the way that users might respond to these future climate hazards. The next steps for the IMF are to really work towards testing out the capabilities of the framework on some real case studies. We're developing case studies in DARE around Greater Manchester and around the northeast of England, where we can look at multimodal transport, so road, walking, cycling, rail, metro, but also freight, and use the modelling framework to analyse potential future climate scenarios and quantify those impacts. So we'll be working with stakeholders in those case study regions to test out those models and refine the way that we simulate disruptions and quantify impacts through the IMF.